But the next thing you know,
Brilliant.
he kills an elk, and it's like mama looking at baby bird fly away. It's like, okay.
You can only feel proud.
Welcome to the Wild Dispatch.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Wild Dispatch. I'm Robin and I'm back with more skills and stories from the wild. Now, it has been a pretty wild couple of weeks. The last, 2 weeks, I'd say. Recorded a bunch of different episodes, had a bunch of adventures. I mean, like they were all good. All children are close to my heart, but one that was particularly special, I think, was getting over to Monroe Robinson and Kay Schubeck's house and having a very special breakfast with sourdough pancakes, but not just any old kind of sourdough pancake. Sourdough made with the starter from the famous cabin of Dick Brennecke. So actually eating sourdough that was originally, Dick Brennecke's. Pretty amazing. So we celebrated his life in a very special way the other day and had a good recording as well. So that one's going to be coming live soon. Also, a bunch of episodes in the field were recorded. The ocean on the coast of California has been amazing. I've been chasing tuna with Dennis, rockfish with Isla in his rowboat, and also dipping my toe into spearfishing as well, which has been absolutely incredible. I've got to say, I think I might be completely hooked. Anyway, one thing I haven't been doing is packing for elk camp, which is happening in just a couple of days. So I'm excited to say I've been invited back. Michael from the Hunting Stories podcast is, I kind of done too much of a bad job. So I'm heading back over to Colorado for a couple of weeks and getting up to mischief, chasing elk around as they are screaming in the mountains. So that's very exciting. I don't have a tag, but I'm going to be over there and calling and trying to help out and bringing in a bull for Michael and his friends. So all this to say, who better today to talk to than a world champion elk caller? Jermaine Hodge is quite a character, I've got to say. He is, an absolute athlete. He was a champion wrestler for the Army, also a fantastic bow hunter and obviously elk caller. He's got a great sense of humor to boot. So I had a great time talking with Jermaine today. And I think you'll enjoy a lot of the stories and nuggets that he has for us in this episode. But before we jump into that, just a little bit of housekeeping. If you are new to the podcast, I know there are quite a few new people arriving. Welcome. It's exciting to have you here. Hope you enjoy the stay. If you could give us a follow or subscribe, whatever platform you're listening on, that would be fantastic. Also, another thing to do is switch to auto downloads so that if you are out in the boonies and you need some entertainment, then it will always be there as we upload at least twice a month. Possibly an extra episode is going to sneak its way in there lately. So there'll be something there for you to listen to. If you are a returning guest, then welcome back. It would be amazing if you could do all the things that people who enjoy listening to podcasts do. If you could leave us a nice review, share us with someone who loves the outdoors, or maybe even doesn't love the outdoors and you think that they need a dosage of wilderness to get them back on track. All those things add up. The positive reviews actually do make quite a difference with the algorithm. So if you can pitch in, roll your sleeves up, that would be a great help. Right. I think that's quite enough waffling from me for today. Here's Jermaine.
I only got, my little corner in this house, and I call it the man cave. And I got everything from, like right now, I have my bows laid out, everything kind of laid out because tomorrow evening I leave for an antelope hunt. And this was like an unexpected hunt. And the only reason I really put in for this tag is because a good friend of mine that I've hunted for years, and he's, more of a brother than a friend, and he had the same amount of points, and we had a chance to get this tag together. And it's been a while since I've hunted with him, like personally hunted with him. And So I said, well, let's put the tag in together, and he didn't draw the tag, and I drew the tag. So I'm like, dude, bummers, but at the same time, I'm stoked, and I'm like, so right around I guess April, I got a new bow, and then it took a while because a lot of the parts that I was looking for to go on that bow were back ordered. So it took a while to get it all done. So at the beginning of June, and we'll be, dropping the video of this bow build. Man, I got this Darton ST sequel, and it's amazing. And
Okay.
long story short, I built some elk and antelope, arrows this year because that's what I'm hunting for, archery. And dude, I built them to pretty much the same specs. The only thing that's different is really the the weight of the arrows and the manufacture of the arrows, but they are hitting at the same spots, and I'm super stoked about it. But I've been shooting these arrows. I I started challenging myself and said, here we go. You need to be taking these 70, 80, 90 to 100 yard shots, and I've been doing it, man. And I know all with the exception of one antelope that I've killed with archery equipment has been 40 and under. The rest of them have been way further than that, I could tell you that.
Yeah.
But if you're proficient at your equipment, and you believe in your equipment, and you practice with your equipment, uh, and you feel like you can make an ethical shot, then man, by all means. But I've been practicing bombs every day,
Yeah.
and like this evening, I'm getting ready to go out, and I'm gonna set up about a 10-inch circle on my target, and I'm gonna challenge myself at 80, 90, and 100. And if I feel like I'm hitting, 99% of the target, meaning like I might edge this, I feel confident at those shots. And but
Yeah.
once again, archery antelope, man. But I'm super excited, dude. I got stuff spread out. I'll show you the house afterwards. It's you know, without my wife blessing me on this, none of this stuff would be here. But we got some big bulls on the wall. Shoot, she's got some big bulls on the wall, so I don't think she's gonna have any complaint about me showing you the house. Um, but
Yeah, that's
there's
awesome.
some big stuff in here, and we love it, man. We do it every year. Today
That's
I
so
played that reissue list today. It was like throwing craps, and I gave my money up, and I didn't have to give no money up, but in sense of craps, I gave my money up for nothing, because I probably could have paid another hour of work doing something else that I need to do. But man,
yeah.
it's tough. It's tough getting a tag nowadays.
You got the entertainment from it though, right? Like that's also the
Oh,
value.
I know.
Playing the game.
I know. I said today, my buddy Pat, good friend of mine, has been hunting with me for years, and he's been on a lot of videos that I do. But my buddy Pat, he said, "Dude, let me try for you. You try for the rest of your family." And I'm like, "All right, okay. You don't, he's fine with." And he's a school teacher, so he doesn't give a lot of time off. So if he had drawn like today, they had archery 76 tags and rifle 76 tags. And if you don't know anything about Colorado, 76 is like one of them like dream to go units. Like I've
Yeah.
been dreaming that from the end of season to the next season, and all of us trying to get all these tags. But I tell you, man, when they popped up, I was like, heck with it. We can win just as good as anybody else, but we got to play the game.
Yeah, exactly.
So we tried.
Okay,
We
man.
struck
Well,
out.
yeah. Yeah. It's not you don't yeah, unless you go. You don't know unless you go. So
You
my friend
don't
always
know
says
unless you
you've got
go.
you got to try. You got to try. Okay, man. Well, I'm glad to hear that you are feeling ready for Antelope, dude. I mean, those long shots are brutal. I'm lucky I got space here. I got like 100-yard range that I can
Yeah.
get out to and send bombs to. And it's amazing the difference it makes, You know, you're used to like 40, 50, 60-yard shots, and then you get out to 100. If you're not used to those, your shoulder, your arm, everything is just all over the place. But you just spend a few days doing that, right? Like it's weird. You get so comfortable holding steady at those kind of ranges. And then when you get close, it's like, oh wow,
It's a
this is
chip
like
shot.
50 yards starts to feel like a joke. Yeah.
Chip shot. I
Um,
said, who practices 20 yards? I said, I can't practice 20 yards. I got to aim at different targets because my arrow's going to be kissing. And,
oh
and
yeah,
then when you get
exactly.
out to 100, it changes dramatically. It's like the little movement counts so much, so
Yeah,
much.
it does, man.
But
It does.
I will say, you we're not trying to make, long bomb shots by no means, but if you don't challenge yourself to the max of your ability, right? Then
Yeah.
then you're stuck at 50 and then when that 50 yard comes up, it feels like the 100 to me and you to everybody else when that 50-yard shot should have been a chip shot. It should have been, I'm making the shot, no doubt about it. But,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I just say to people, challenge yourself. Who cares? Yes, I, Jermaine Hodge, definitely break arrows and a lot of them. I got some wood posts that love to eat those arrows, but without you challenging yourself, you'll never know your ability.
Yeah, exactly. I've definitely got plenty of arrows stuck in redwood trees behind my target, which is they always land like just above where I can reach or get to safely. So they just have to stay there looking down at me,
It looks
reminding me of all the fuck ups I've
it
made.
looks like one of the archery ranges at Total Archery Challenge
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
with tons of arrows in it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, man. Well, I should probably first of all say welcome, man. Thanks for jumping on the
Thank you,
podcast.
man.
I'm yeah, super glad you managed to pull this together at the last second. This was all my fault, last minute, and you're a busy man always, but particularly right now, heading off to this antelope hunt.
Yeah,
So yeah, thanks for making it happen.
absolutely, man.
A bit of context. I realized I'm going to be going over to Colorado. Most likely, I think I may get one of those tags, but I don't think so. um, but Michael, as in, I went last year and had a great time, and I spent a bit of time with him, and then also went off on my own and then made friends on the mountain as well. You know, as you do, it's like easy when you're at 11,000
You
feet,
talking about
seven
Michael
miles
from
back.
Hunt Stories podcast?
Yeah, that's right,
Okay.
Michael from the Hunting Stories podcast. I did a really good hunt with him, and he had a lot of success. Actually, got a moose that year, so that was fun.
Yeah.
But I obviously kind of fucked up too much because he invited me back this year. So I think it's going to be just me and him sometimes. And I want to make sure that I do the whole situation justice and don't make quite as many mistakes as I did last year, calling in elk. And hopefully, yeah, bring in a fatty for him, and then as I said before, he'll owe me, and then that'll be him in my
Huge.
pocket
It'd
for
be
all
so huge.
time.
He will never let that
Yeah,
down.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I guess like what I would love to do today is bounce around some of the things that happened to me last year, and I'd love to pick your big brain
Okay.
about how to have done those things differently and how to learn from those things. And then also, I'd love to, if possible, if you wouldn't mind sharing some stories that feel relevant. And also, I think like maybe we could learn, or I could learn, or maybe anyone listening could learn from the mistakes that you made as well in the past. Because I think that's fun as well at times to talk about the things that you learned as you went through the whole process too.
Oh, I got a lot of
Um,
them. Where do you start? Honestly, where you probably should start on that one, and we should start on that one is the mistakes that I've made when I was younger, is
yeah,
the very beginning because the beginner mistakes are the most crucial mistakes. And I will say this, and I'll speak on both sides of things. The beginning mistakes of an archery elk hunter or a first season rifle, I mean, for a rifle hunter,
mhm,
versus years of experience, then you take most of your mistakes were made earlier in your career as a beginner, and as advanced you go into it's a lot more detail, and I tell people all the time, there's a lot more detail into the advanced mistakes. I said because I make mistakes every year, but I just try not to make those same mistakes. And then as the caller aspect of things, right? And as a caller, yeah, you know how to call, you know how to do a calf call, you know how to do a cow call, you know how to do a location bugle. Shoot, you even know how to do chuckles really well, right? And maybe you haven't gotten to that advanced stage of calling where some of these calls are hard to make, but nonetheless, the mistakes as a beginner versus an advanced caller is totally different because we just don't know the situation. Which brings us to your first question of situations and stuff that you've gotten into that I could possibly help out. Because at the very end of the day, this is it. Jermaine Hodge. I came into the Army in 2024. I came with something in mind, and it had nothing to do with elk hunting. But it led me here to Colorado. I'm originally from North Carolina. I've hunted whitetail with friends and stuff, but I haven't ventured out here, right? Where the mecca of the elk are. And
Yeah.
I tell you right now, hunting in California, that's one thing. But hunting here, totally different. Totally different. And it's amazing. And kind of brings me back to where we're talking about like the beginner mistakes of things. And
Yeah.
I was an athlete. I'm a Greco-Roman wrestler. I've been wrestling, since I was 12 years old, all the way to the point of me coming into the Army. And then I got selected for the World Class Athlete Program, which is WCAP, Army. And I've been blessed to be a part of that team for X amount of years. And while I was in WCAP, 2005 I came in WCAP, and then 2006 I missed a draw in 2005, and then 2006 I drew the tag. Now, remind you, I wasn't really crazy in 2005. I was more so getting settled in because I had moved, been moving, and
Yeah.
kind of getting settled in, kind of enjoying life, and then like the beginning of 2006, reality hit. Like, oh man, these draws are about to come out. You're a big hunter, and you need to show yourself to some of your teammates that are big hunters. And I've never hunted elk. They've been hunting elk for years, and love them to death because they pointed me in the right direction, and I wasn't guided wrong by no means. Everybody was out for themselves during camp, but they never really pointed me in the wrong direction. And lo and behold, in 2006, I was able to call in with a buddy of mine, call in a nice little raghorn bull and kill him.
Nice.
And in a tough unit, in a very tough unit.
Yeah.
And then 2007, I drew a good unit. And when in 2007, I said, well, I'm all in on this. And it was tough, man. I was doing the same things that I was doing the previous year, but only a little bit better, just a little bit better,
Yeah.
right? You put in the practice, but you didn't put in you put in 90, you didn't put the 100 in. And being in shape wasn't, a question, but my calling was a question. And I was just getting good enough to get it done the first year, and then I'm still on the just good enough the next squad, but my shape is good, and I'm going into next year in the same mentality, but it was harder, and it challenged me to start working on my calls.
Okay.
And then 2008, it got even more challenging. And then I said, if you really want to kill some of these big bulls, you need to devote yourself. After that season, I killed another bull in 2008. I said, you need to devote yourself. And I devoted to just practicing. Between 6 and 9, I drove my wife insane. I drove my
Is
friend
this every day of the year?
every
Or like how often?
every day. Every day I would come home. I pop that fuck. I come through the door. I grab my diaphragms and I start calling and calling and calling. And then I would put on elk videos after elk videos, watching videos. And I understand now, but back then I didn't understand. And all I wanted to do is just be successful. And I think I equated the whole ability of like literally from the beginning to where I am now
Mm.
is I made a ton of mistakes, a ton of
Mm.
mistakes. But
Well, a bit of context as well, which we should give, and I'll probably, in my head, I was like, I'll do this in the setup anyway. But obviously, you worked super hard and you wanted to achieve a high level, and you did because you won the 2019 RMEF World Elk Calling Championship, right?
right,
So, I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. That's pretty amazing.
well, well, you
So,
could do it in the woods. It's way better. It's way better when you do it in the woods.
true, okay, yeah, yeah, there you go. But then you also, I think, went into become, there's like a pro category after that as well, right? And I think you went into that as well. So, yeah, I mean, like, obviously you are p- performing these calls at a very high level.
No,
Just
it's
sorry
cool.
to interrupt you, it's just to give the context.
Yeah, it's cool on stage. And a lot of the sounds that we make on stage, we might not necessarily use in the woods. I mean, we have them in our repertoire, but we don't use them in the woods. I think when you talk about the men's division and with the exception of like I would say your top three, top four in the men's division. Um, the, the difference is when you go to the pro division, there's a lot of great callers, and and just because you're a great caller, in the times that I've competed, just because you're a great caller doesn't mean you're a great hunter because it goes back to kind of what I was saying is sometimes at the very beginning of calling stages, you make mistakes because you really don't know what they're saying. You're just trying to mimic
Mm-hmm.
them and cut them off and try to spit, I would say that broken maybe Russian sound that even the Russians be like, huh? Not sure exactly what you're trying to say. And what I mean by that is just humanizing it all. And when you humanize it and you see them doing those sounds and what they're doing to those sounds, you put that mental note in your head and you're like, okay, this is how I'm going to play this. I've seen this in the playbook already. I've watched video cameras of this already. I've watched trail camera videos of this already. They were doing this and they were doing this at this particular time. Maybe I need to interact with this. Until we humanize it at the beginning of stage, all we doing is going and making sounds. And what
Okay.
we call that on a yearly basis is the Doug Flutie. And it's fine. Because you don't have to sound like Jermaine Hodge to kill elk. You can go out there with that hoochie mama, I promise you. And you can probably get, a lonely bull to come in. But if you're out there and you want to get these guys to interact and go crazy, learning how to call, man, is, one step that 2008, that 2009 time frame that I spent um, honing those skills. Now,
Yeah.
now, after that, it was pretty much chasing big bulls. Now, with that being said, it goes to what mistakes you had a question. What mistakes that I make in the woods at an early age? So we got,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
already got, we already got, calling aspect of things and the hunting aspect of things. And I want to caveat on one thing about the hunting aspect of things. One thing that I didn't do to myself that I see a lot of hunters and I hear a lot of hunters say to me is, man, but it was steep and deep and it was downfall. If he's bugling, I'm going. I don't care what I gotta get to. I will worry
Yeah.
about that later. Now, early in my career, I would have thought about it twice. Now I don't even think about it. I'm like, we will figure this out. Because what I'm doing to myself is awarding myself more opportunities. If you think and say no, you ain't gonna go. Quote that out of the book.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
think and say no, you're not gonna go. I don't say
Yeah.
no to anything, and I just go. And that has awarded me more opportunities. Now, with that comes, it comes failure too. It comes failure.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you then. So I'm guessing you probably got some good stories of those moments where you're like, I'm not going to ask questions, I'm just going to go. Has that ever got you in trouble? I bet you've got a good
Oh
story with that
man,
about that.
so let me tell you this story. This story, I'm not. If I'm lying, I'm dying. Listen, every story I tell you is true. It's I didn't make it up. It happened to me in the woods. And I remember this. It was 2007. And it brings me back to the beginning stages of things, right?
Yeah.
2007. I drew that primo tag that I told you about. Yeah, I was successful. And I had a lot more bigger bull encounters than the one I killed. But I was heading out of the woods about the same time as a muzzleloader was heading out of the woods. And I met him at the bottom of the hill. Kind of ran into each other. We seen our red lights. And I was speaking to him. I was like, yeah, I've been hunting this area back and forth. And I decided to come in here. And you guys were in here. I just dinked around. I called a few bulls in, blah, blah, blah. And he said, man, we've been hunting this area for 2, 3 days now. And we seen a 380 bull. And I looked at him and I said, 380 bull, right? You got to be kidding me. At that point, I'm a new hunter. I've never seen a 380 bull, but I've seen them in magazine, and they are ginormous. I'm like, God dang. And so I was thinking the whole time the dude was lying to me. So I went back to camp, and I was hunting that year at the beginning of the season. I was hunting by myself, solo. And I said, well, I'm going to go to bed, think about this, get my food. And man, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. I said, man, what if that dude wasn't lying to you? Just go. Check it out. I set my alarm clock, 4 o'clock. I was up by 4:30. I was heading out. It didn't take that long to get to that spot, but I wanted to be there, and I walked in there with my red light. As I'm walking in there, I was bumping bulls. I was bumping elk. I can hear them
Yeah.
running through the woods. And I was like, you messed up, man. You messed up big time. So I get to where I want to be. I want to be about approximately where I think they'll be at first daylight. Not above them. Of course, that wind's still pulling down. About approximately where they're going to be. And as soon as first daylight comes out, I hit some calf and cow sounds, and then I throw a location bugle down in this drainage. Nothing. I sat there doing the same thing for about 5, 6 minutes. Nothing. Couldn't get nothing to answer. I walked 500 yards to the left, and I hit this calf sound. And when I hit this calf sound, this calf ringed back. I could hear the calf. And if some of y'all don't know what that sounds like, hopefully the mic doesn't drown out, but it's a high
Yeah.
pitch right here.
Yeah.
And I heard that kid that wanted to play, but I didn't know. I wasn't humanizing this at this point. So as that calf was sounding off, I was sounding off. Calf. And if you fast forward to what I know now, kids always love to play with kids. Doesn't matter, until they get to a certain age, and then they got to get in there, and then that's the bachelor herd, and that's something totally different. But kids always want to play with kids. And I hit that calf sound, and that calf started calling back, and then I didn't know what I know now. And calf comes up. I can hear them coming. They breaking trees. The calf comes running 10 yards in front of me. I am not at full draw. My bow is sitting in my hand. My release is on it, but I am not at full draw. And that calf is looking. And then another cow comes, and another cow comes. 3 cows and a calf, so he had 4 of them with him. And then lo and behold, behind him was this giant 7x7. He sweeped his head through the woods, and I was like, oh, This dude is giant. Now, let's rewind. I was a beginner hunter, not what I know now. Because when that calf sounded off at me, that bull erupted. I should have already knew, and I didn't. So the calf comes up, the cow comes up, another two cows come up, and pulling the rear is King Dingaling, and he is huge. And when that guy said he seen a 380 bull, I was staring at him at 10 yards. Not at full draw, not even ready, pants down, and I'm still pissing. So, long story short, I got no choice but to try to come to draw at 10
Yeah.
yards. And now I got a pine tree to my left of my shoulder. My left shoulder is leaning on this pine tree. And I try to cut him full draw, and the cows peg me. They take off running. This dude turns, and he's chasing them. He has no clue I'm there. And he gets stuck between two aspen trees. Boom! He's so wide and so tall, he can't go through these aspen trees. Now, I could have shot him at 40 yards, but I was like, woo! No one's going to believe this. And my jaw was dropped to the floor. I didn't even know to shoot. My long story short is this. Always know that in the heat of the rut, that if you call a calf in, who's gonna be following that calf is probably mama or big sister, you know. And they're gonna be following because no mom's gonna leave their kids. And then if they come, that means Big Daddy's pulling the rear. And you gotta be ready, and you gotta be at full draw for archery season. Of course, if that was rifle season and I could have replayed that, I would have been already kind of ready and made the shot, and the shot would have been way faster than some archery equipment slinging at them. But
Yeah.
but also understand this, that I wasn't an expert caller. I was not. At that point, I was subpar. I was very subpar. I wasn't bugling through, my bugle tube with my reed. I was bugling with the Primos, latex that a lot of companies have out, like Phelps with the Easy Bugler. I was doing that, but I was also killing them with open reeds and diaphragms too. And some people have, a gag reflex where they can't use diaphragms, and
Oh, really?
and open reeds is where I was really like honing my skills until like that 2000 end of 2008 going into 2009, and then I just was driven into killing elk with reeds and perfecting my skills, man. So
That sounds epic, man. I can only imagine how stunned you must have been with that like 7x7. I mean, what a story!
yeah,
Like, so I've got a story that I'm going to tell you a little bit later on, I think, where the first elk bull that I kind of saw, and it was, I mean, obviously not a 7x7, but by all means, it was my 7x7. It was like a 5x6, I think, like a big thing, and I'd never seen, and it, like, I was definitely in a moment like where I was like dazed for a moment, where I was like, whoa, this thing is huge, like, and there's a bit of a like, you've got to like pull it together for a second there, like, rather than just staring with your mouth open, actually do something,
yes,
make some choices.
yes, make some choices.
That's the hard thing. So, I guess like you already said there, like, be prepared. If you're calling cows, be prepared that Big Daddy's going to be coming along too, or if you're calling the babies through.
Well,
And I think that's a great tip. That's something I didn't know,
well,
because actually I think I was kind of in that situation as well.
well.
That's something.
What I would say is listen, and if it sounds like an adolescent cow or a calf, and I'm listening to the response to these elk, right? So these elk, and what they're responding to, because I try not to change what I'm gonna give them until I have to change, if that makes sense, right? So, so let's just say we pop up on a hill and it's dark. We're waiting for daylight, and I always start off with calf sounds, and then I kind of move from there to calf and cow communication, to a location bugle, and then location to a chuckle, and then lip ball, and the whole 9 yards, right? But let's just say he responded to a calf sound, and he sounded off. So when I move in that direction to that particular elk that sounded off, and who knows that undisclosed location, which could be, let's say 700 yards, and I move 300 yards, and I think I'm close, but the human GPS really messes you up when you're in the woods because everything kind of looks further than really what it is. So we walk 300 yards instead of 400 or 500 yards. At that point, when I question myself, you know exactly what I do. I give him the calf sound. I don't deviate off of what I'm going to do. He's responded to the calf sounds. I'm going to cover some distance. I'm going to break some limbs going into that distance, checking my wind and everything in my favor. And the first sound I'm going to give him is the calf sound. And that's what he responded to in the first place. And that goes for any sound. So if it was the cow and calf communication, that's what I'm going to give him. I'm going to give him the cow and calf communication, like we're covering distance, trying to find you, right? Now, if he responded to the location bugle, the same thing applies. But the difference is when I'm moving in and I get closer to him on the location bugles, what I like to do is I hit like a contact bugle, where it's a growly bugle, and it's not like, hey, where you at again? Because I really don't know where he is, and I think he might be close. That contact bugle kind of sounds like this. Hopefully it doesn't drown this out, but I want you to hear this.
Yeah, I'm hearing it, I think so.
And I'm just saying, hey, I've come a long ways, where you at? And
Okay.
if he doesn't respond to that contact bugle, which 90% of the bulls will respond to that, if they don't respond to that, then I go back to that location bugle. And that was the first sound that he responded to anyways. So I just don't start at the top. I work my way up until they
Yeah.
respond to something. And I made that mistake a lot early in my careers. I would just go out there and I didn't know that bull was only 100 yards away from me, baby.
That's me. That's exactly what I
Yeah.
was doing last year.
So you got to be aware of all that. But a lot of these mistakes that I made, I just try to go to like some of my seminars that I do and try to educate them the best that I can do for them, because man, every situation is totally different. And the way I would play it might not be the way you would play it. And who knows what's going to work out. At that point, it's a gamble. We don't understand it logically. We supposed to say, it's supposed to work out. It's supposed to work out. Listen,
Yeah, yeah.
you walked into the casino. You didn't want to spend $1, then walk back out. But if you walk in the casino and you want to spend at least $1, then play the game. Play the game. And it's not checkers, it's chess. And you have to strategically say, I'm only spending $1. Maybe I need to go to the penny slots where I got 100 chances. And that's the
Yeah,
truth.
yeah.
So, with people that, going back to kind of what I was saying, people that want to be timid eats tags.
Okay,
Be
good.
aggressive. Be aggressive.
Okay, that's really good to know because I
You will
think that was something
lose more than you will win. But when you
yeah.
win, you come back to camp with a hell of a story, or you come back to camp with some meat on your back.
Yeah. Okay, great. That was something I was definitely going to ask, which is like, how high are the stakes? You try something or you try a different cool or whatever, like, how bad can it go if it doesn't go right? But it sounds like if you don't try, then how are you going to know anyway? And then you're not going to learn.
So back in the day, what before we really started recording, we were laughing about something. Listen, I've always hit these guys up with guys that I used to, take out and help out, guide them in the best direction to, hey, this is where your hunting needs to go. And these are friends from North Carolina. I got some, good friends that I grew up with that I hunt with from North Carolina on the occasion. Of course, they back in North Carolina and I'm here in Colorado. And these are guys that I went to high school with, and shoot, one of them introduced me to hunting, and long story short, and then I got some guys in PA, I mean, around the U.S. that I've hunted with, and I tell you right now, I tell them all the time, man, they were just here yesterday. What could be going on? Nope. Let's go over the next ridge. And then you go over the next ridge, and then you're like, they got to be over the next ridge. You really don't know unless you go. And then you go as far as you can possibly go in that hunting period and say, wow, maybe they bumped over. Or maybe that next ridge was where they were. Never tell yourself no. No, never. Never. I never do that. If they bugling, I'm going. And I always tell myself to push myself a little harder because I thought they were there and they wasn't. And then I go, let me check over this ridge. Let me check in this whole basin. Before I leave, I got to check this. And, man, that has led to my success year in and year out. I would say that's led to my success more than my calling ability. But let's go down another rabbit hole. This is another thing that I swear by for me, and everybody could, there's a lot of great callers out there. But I look at elk hunting as an EKG. You're probably scratching your head, just like I did right then. You're like, EKG? Well, on an EKG,
echocardiogram.
yeah, it could be a 3 lead, it could be a 15 lead, they could have all kinds of leads. No matter what, each of those lines that are bumping across that screen, and I know it looks like I'm going right to left because I was, but it usually reads left to right, and it bumps across the screen, right? Each of those rhythms need to be in play. And I mean that when it comes to elk hunting. It means your shooting ability. It means to be steady in the composure when stress levels get high. You need to be able to hike and bike and keep going and never say no at the very end. And at the very end of the day, your calling ability will separate you from everybody else. All right? You can even throw a fifth one in there. And the fifth one I would probably be leaning on how's your equipment set up. But you could also go back to your shooting on that. Because if you're shooting subpar, then your equipment's subpar. But what I mean by that is all your rhythms need to be bumping together. They need to be bumping together. And then, at the very end of the day, 10%. They say 10% of the people go out and kill successfully every year, year in and year out. 10%. But those 10% are the ones doing everything that I'm talking about. Everything that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Meaning e-scout, meaning everything possible. And then also those 10% might have a little luck with them. Because I'd rather be lucky than and be out in all those conditions. I'd rather be lucky. But if I'm lucky and I never worked on those other things, and then you rinse and repeat the next year, and then you eat 2 tag sandwich, it's because you never worked on the other things and you were lucky. Man, I look at it way different than a lot of people, and I will tell you this. Hard work and making sure that you're better than your components. I mean, your competitors, and your competitors are the other elk hunters that are out there.
Yeah. I think also it's like luck obviously is a big part of it, but I think it's one of those things where it's all wrapped up in people who are the most successful are also often the people who fail the most. Like they fail way more than people who are failures.
Yes.
And so it's like You've got to keep working, putting yourself out there, and keep being in that situation to actually have more failures in a certain time period, and then it will work out, and then ultimately the end goal is achieved, right? I think that's
Humanize it.
the
Humanize
thing.
it, like you said. Look at the corporate world, right? A lot of successful
Mm,
people, that have a lot of money have failed and failed and failed and failed, but they kept putting themselves in a situation where they could land big, and they
yeah.
land big. I mean, it goes for, like, well, I'm not preaching gambling, but it goes for gamblers, gamblers that gamble religiously for life, and they just keep putting themselves in a situation where they could hit big. And that's
Mm,
the same standpoint as I'm talking about and you're talking about, is I'm not going to say no to an opportunity. I'm just going to go and see how it works out. And and
yeah.
if you get in there, you might have an opportunity. But 90% of the time they fail. Only 10% of the time they're successful. And I'd rather take that 10% out of 100 opportunities versus that person that only took the gamble once, but he had,
Mm,
and he could have possibly had 99% of opportunities. So
yeah.
take the odds in your own hunt, but standing back and saying enough is enough. You just got to know it and play it the way sometimes the way them elk are sounding. You got to know
Mm.
I can be aggressive, and then you got to know, hey, I need to stand my ground, kind of thing. And that's where a lot of new hunters make their mistake. I mean,
Okay. Yeah, okay. So it sounds like as well, I think wrapped up in this, you don't know unless you go, and you got to try, and you got to be able to fail to actually succeed kind of mentality. A big part of that, I'm assuming then part of your success is fitness. So then I guess the question is like, how important is fitness when trying to be a successful elk hunter in the mountains? I mean, you're obviously very fit and have come from like a culture of extreme fitness for, I guess, decades.
right. And listen, I'm not pushing like fitness. I'm not pushing being the best caller in the woods. What I will tell you is this: go back. If my EKG lines read this and this one reads this and it reads the same, then I'm the best that I can be for the moment. But if your EKG lines are above standard and all of them are above standard, then you're going to be above standard. So if yours are good, yours are good. But don't let one thing turn you away because you're not in shape.
Yeah, yeah,
Because if you're not in shape, you know what you're going to tell yourself? I can't do that. I'm not
yeah,
going down there. I never get out of there. So then it feeds off another line. It feeds off another line. And that's the truth. I'm just being truthful
yeah,
to you. You know? Let me go back to, like, you know, I took Michael out into a special unit that I kind of cut my teeth in. Michael from Hunt Stories podcast, um,
yeah.
owner of Hunt Stories podcast, great dude. And I ran into him and did a podcast with him. And he told me, man, I ran into him next year at Western Hunt Fest. We were shooting, we were doing seminars, and I told him, I said, if you draw the tag, I'll go with you, man. So the next year, I don't know what was in his head, but he hit me up. He said, "You remember when you told me if I draw that tag, you go with me?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he said, "I drew the tag." I said, "It's on. Let's go." And lo and behold, I had to do, I was in the military at the time when I took him out. And lo and behold, I had to take a couple of days and go up to Pennsylvania and do some recon on some stuff that we were doing. And I sent my buddy Pat. I said, Pat, take him to the areas that I've showed you. I said, I'll be there. It'll be a couple of days. So season opens up on the 2nd, the 3rd, a couple of days go by. I land the night of the 3rd So they went out like the morning. They did a little hunt on that night. In the morning of the 4th, I showed up. I already had a plan for us and everything. And I took him in there, and we started covering some ground, doing some areas and boy, it was some bugling bulls. We had some going nuts. But it was tough, man. They were coming in silent, this, that, and this. And one night, it was just me and Michael. And I had this bull going nuts. So then I called Michael off because daylight was short. And I called Michael off and I said, let's go back. We'll come after him in the morning. So from the time we left that bull, he went from like no cows to like 10 cows overnight. He was sounding off and he was hot and heavy. The next day, he wasn't sounding off at all. Early in the morning, it was frost on the leaves and everything. And I peeked my head out in that meadow that we had seen that bull, and I seen him. And I said, he got cows. And we kind of ducked down. And I said, but if he gets to this tree line, he ain't answering none of my calls. If he gets to this tree line, we're going. And we boogied across the tree line and got in there. Anyways, it was me being aggressive in that situation, knowing when to say enough is enough and then going forward. It was me being aggressive that made that opportunity, because if I didn't say let's go, none of them guys would have been like, yeah, we ain't gonna kill that bull. It was just me being aggressive, and the opportunity presented itself, and Michael killed a nice bull, nice respectable Colorado bull. So
I gotta say as well, all the while this is happening, because I knew Michael at this point, and we were buds, because I'd also been on the podcast and we connected, and he's got this uncanny ability to make friends with everyone.
mm-hmm.
And I was getting text message updates from him going like, dude, I'm so tired. Jermaine keeps making me charge up and down mountains. I think he's just doing it for the fun of it. Yeah,
this
it was funny to hear
this
that
was
backstory.
during his time to get ready to go hunt.
Yeah. No, during the actual hunt. Yeah. So it was like I was getting messages from him like day 3, oh, it's pretty hard work, day 5, like I'm so tired. Like it was good. I was sending him little pep talk messages going like, just keep going, man, just keep pushing.
He probably didn't tell you that I didn't quit. I was like, going, let's go. That's funny.
Yeah, it's good. So I guess something maybe now is a good time to jump into like Jermaine's diagnosis of my situations.
Okay.
I'll tell you a few things. I think you've already told me more than enough to explain why some of these things didn't work out. But I've got like 3 or 4 little situations that happened. And I guess to set things up in the first place, I had an amazing time over there, and I kind of had a whole variety of experiences with bulls, up into actually being full draw, 25 yards from a bull, staring me down, and it just something not quite working out at the end, and I'll get to that in a minute. And I'd love your analysis on that too. But yeah, I'm sure that there were many situations when I could have done things different, could have done things better, and I felt like I learned so much in that month there as well, right? Like there were, I'd say like the first example, and I'd love your advice on this as well, but the first time I had like a bull bugle back at me, we were in this long, I was kind of at the edge of this long valley, low top. It wasn't cliffed out, but it was like steep. And it felt like like a great point to rip a bugle, because it's like high area that will get hit by the sound. So I ripped that bugle, and there was a sound from this elk far away, like way up the valley, in the trees, couldn't see him. And basically this was about 2 hours before dark, and he just kept bugling back. And this was the moment where I hadn't really bugled much. I'd just been doing cow calls, because everyone had always said to me, start with cow calls, see what goes on. And then I had actually kind of in the 3 days of driving over to Colorado, just been messing around with mouth calls. First time I'd ever called, was messing around and like kind of got the bugle in a place where I felt more comfortable. And my buddy who was with me was like, just rip a bugle, dude. Like, what you got to lose? You know, I think I was timid at that point before. So I just ripped one and then got this response. And then just threw the kitchen sink at him, was like bugling, chuckling, just throwing everything. And he just got really worked up. He got super worked up and was coming, and it was clear. It was like, he's coming down the valley. Like, he's coming all the way. And this was like, I'd say a mile away at least. Getting closer, getting closer, getting closer.
Late in the evening.
This was about, it started off about 2 hours before dark, and then I'd say it just progressed, you know?
How far was he away?
A mile at least,
Oh
I'd
wow.
say. But he came a long way. And
He came a long ways as you're working him. And
yeah.
and how much ground did he cover though in that long ways before we say an hour before daylight? I mean for dark.
I think the first half an hour he didn't move, and then he moved, and he moved fast.
And he moved
That's what I'd
fast.
say.
So he probably
He
covered
moved
what, half
fast.
a mile, maybe a mile?
Yeah, a mile. He just came the whole way down. Like, he was close. We couldn't see him. But the thing that stopped me, and this is the thing, right? Like you're saying about the mentality, it was like so much deadfall, super steep. In my previous experience, like I've done a lot of hunting over in South Africa, and the animals there are like super jumpy. If you make noise, they're gone. They're not gonna like see what's going on. Like, it's over. So you got to be like really careful with how you move, how you make noise, all those things. And I think I had some of that programmed in my mind. It's like a different game that we're playing here,
Yeah.
right? It's a totally different game. So now I guess I learned from that experience. I should have been charging down that deadfall, just getting down
Yep.
there
You should have been
and meeting him in the
charging.
middle.
Well, you should have been charging the minute you knew he was committed, like committed.
Yeah.
Like he'd bugle, y'all bugle for 30 minutes. And then when you knew he was committed after the 30 minutes, you should have been charging down the hill. Listen,
Yeah.
don't ever make the mistake of making an opportunity. Who cares? Like, okay, we do care if it's a straight drop off and I got to work my way over an hour just to get to him. Yes, we do care about that. But if it's doable,
Oh, yeah.
do it. If it's doable, do it. Yeah, you might regret it later and be like, damn, that opportunity didn't work out. I'm going to tell you right now, you got to put that opportunity in front of you. In front of you. Hey, do not. And of course, I know this. You said late evening, you would have had to go down the drainage. I already know. I need to beat this dude down the drainage because in the evening, we know them thermals start coming down. If he beats me down there, then the wedding's all screwed up. But if I know that in my head, I'm going to push even harder to get down there faster than he is. Now, we can't move as fast as those four-legged creatures, but I'm telling you, you got to charge and you got to say, heck with it. Let's go.
Okay. Yeah. So I think I was definitely intimidated by the deadfall and the steepness of everything. But like you say, if I knew now what then, I would have gone down there, and I think it would have been a different situation. You know, I maybe would have had to have learned another lesson, but at least there would have been at like the next phase.
Yeah,
So
but you know what? Your next lesson would have been, dude, I had him at 25 yards and no shot, or something crazy. You seen him. You seen him.
Yeah.
When you don't get to see him and you just hear him,
Yeah.
that's like beginning stages of marriage.
Okay, so, okay, good. That's good to know. So the next one, I called this one spoiled for choice. I was in a situation in a slightly different area. I basically had climbed up a valley. It was like maybe one or two drainages across. And I climbed all the way up, even further up this drainage. And I got to this like little flat area. Not flat, but like an area that I hadn't got to before.
A bench.
And I was excited about it. And at that moment, I was with a couple of buddies. And it was about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was like middle of the day. It was like the hottest time. And then these two elk started bugling at each other from like, one was higher up in the valley and one was kind of not that far away from us, maybe 400 yards max, 300 yards max. And the wind was blowing, say I'm looking south and the valley's running east-west, okay? And I'm trying to like describe this in a way that's super clear. I'm looking at the closest bull, all right? But the wind is blowing so that if I was to go after that bull, the other bull is going to also smell me.
Okay.
Like the bull that's higher up the valley, because the wind's going up that valley. And I think in my mind, I was trying to mitigate potentially failing with either of those. So my thought was, okay, let's go do a big loop wide and then tuck in, see that first guy who's higher up, and then we can always come back up through and go with the wind in our faces towards the closer bull.
What time of day
I
was
know
this?
now, 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh yeah,
It was
2
like
o'clock.
it was hot.
It's hot.
And they were just bugling at each other for like, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. We didn't say anything because we didn't want to give anything away or complicate anything at that moment. And I made the mistake of like taking a long time, working my way up, trying to get to this bull that was further up the valley first. I don't know what I was thinking. Afterwards, the guy who I was with, who's hunted a couple of years before, was like, we should have just charged at that bull. We should have just charged at that bull that was closest to us, and like made it happen with him and fuck the other one that's far up the valley. What would you do in that situation? What do you think was the right thing to do?
I think it's 2 o'clock in the
Yeah.
afternoon. Thermals are hitting the side of the hill. The wind's going up. The bull that's in top
Yeah.
of that's higher than the other bull is going to wind you before the bull that's below you. They're both talking. They both sound right around the same size, relatively, right?
Yeah.
What I'm
Yeah.
doing is I'm gonna cut between the both of them, and I'm gonna try to keep my wind going up, my thermals going up the hill, and I'm gonna cut between the both of them. I'm gonna bump the top one. The top one's gonna smell me. I don't care. But at that point, I'm in distance to call this other bull up to me, because both of
Yeah.
them are fired up, and then
Yeah.
you just got to give them something to fire up about, whether it's calf, cow, whatever the case may be. If it's now you're the next bull between them, whatever the case may be. But I'm gonna play that bottom bull. I'm gonna play that bottom bull in
Okay.
that situation. In or I'm gonna get on the same level as that bottom bull, and I'm gonna work towards that bottom bull, trying to keep our level the same. But I'm not gonna work the top bull. Nope,
Okay. Not gonna work.
it's not gonna work.
Okay.
Your
And you
thermals
said,
ain't even switched at that point.
yeah. That's exactly why the wind was going up the
Yep.
valley. Yeah. You're right. So, forgive me if some of these things are super obvious. It's just stuff which maybe sometimes asking the dumb questions is a good thing to do.
No, it ain't no dumb. That's
You
why they
said,
say it ain't no dumb question, because some of the questions that want to be asked they don't know how to ask them, because they think they dumb questions. They ain't dumb questions. Promise you.
okay. So then you said about cow calling or bugling. What would your gut tell you going in there? You're going to go in the middle, cut off between those two bulls, and you want to start working towards them. What are you starting with? Are you just going to go and try and shock him with the bugle straight away and start a
No,
fight, or you want to go small?
nah. I'm a start with calf sounds. You got into like, without the magic circle, right? Another bull be in that picture, or another bull be in that picture, and be a magic circle, right? You had two bulls screaming at each other. One's higher, one's lower. The one that has the one that's higher has the advantage on the one that's lower. So if he came down and wanted to compete with the one that's lower, he has the advantage. It's called gravity, and he will beat that joker to smithereens. But if they get on the same level, it's a different play. But the one that is higher always has the advantage. That's why I say this. When I go into a situation like that, I usually start off with calf sounds, cow sounds, and maybe that's enough to pull him closer because I'm between him and what he last heard. What he last heard was this bull screaming at him up the hill. And if that's enough, I'm going to stay with it. If it's not enough, I'm going to introduce a new kid to the block. A new kid to the block. He knows that dude up the hill and he can hear his voice and he remembered it. But I'm going to introduce a new kid that snuck in between both of them, and I might do a location bugle, and I might be courting to the cows that he might have heard before while I was making cow and calf sounds, and that might be enough to set him off to come in. But I'm always going to start off with my calf sounds, and I'm going to work my way up. And then when I get into that location bugle and he hasn't answered, or maybe a location to a chuckle and he hasn't answered, then I start going to a courting sequence. Like I'm courting to these females. I'm glunking. I mean, some of these glunk, and I'm just popping my tongue off the top of that. And maybe that might be enough because he's close enough to bring him in. And then I'm hitting him, with not. I'm talking about. And I'm doing all kind of courting stuff that's gonna help them. I might be getting extra screams and stuff like that, but that might be enough to fool them to pull them in. That's like my
Okay.
last resort, but I'm always gonna start off with my calf and cow communication, and then I'll introduce that bull that kind of moved in. You have to paint this in your head as a picture, and
Yes.
And when you start humanizing it, man, your plays will be different, way different. I mean, it's like a Texas Hold'em guy telling me how to play Texas Hold'em. I played it for a certain, but they're gonna be like, no, you gotta hold that, you gotta play that, and then you like, I'm lost. These guys are tournament winners, right? It's chess, it's not checkers. You gotta play it.
Nah, but I gotta say, it's so exciting hearing you say this stuff though. Like my brain is like soaking this stuff up. It's so yeah, it's great. Like I love the detail. I live for this kind of stuff, man.
Man,
Um,
it gets you going, especially when you get that first bull bugling, and you ain't never been out there
yeah.
and you heard that, you're like,
Oh
holy
yeah.
smokes.
It's so good. It's like yeah, it's such a adrenaline boost. That's for sure. Okay, so something else then. I guess that kind of leads me to the third situation that I wanted to run by you, which is then, I guess, closer to the end of my time is where I'd learned some of these things, for the mistakes I'd made in these other choices. And I had started learning, like, okay, when I see an opportunity, I need to get in there. I need to move fast. I need to be more aggressive. I need to try some of these other tactics. And actually, I did go back to a similar area to where that first bull charged the whole way down the valley, like a whole mile towards me. And then I never went down to meet him. I then was like, well, I'm going to go back up where I think he came from. I'm going to go all the way up there. And I found this like Shangri-La of elk. There was just like shit everywhere. The place stank. It was like so good. And I basically I climbed up to a higher point on the side just to try and kind of get a view of the land. And I let a bugle rip, and instantly it was just like bam, straight back at me. And it wasn't even like a long drawn out conversation. It was like bugle, location, bugle, back and forth a little bit. Then I started getting a bit more aggressive, like more deep and like angry. I was trying to visualize the conversation, and then was cutting him off, and he just like started charging down the hill. And as soon as he was moving, I like ran down that hill. I was like running, smashing branches, just being as loud and everything as I could. I got down there. It was a real exercise in trying to maneuver because he kept trying to like move to see me, and then it would be like, no, that's not going to be optimal for me. I'm not going to get a good shot from that point. So I was kind of like adjusting and trying to always be in a good place to mean that like if we did meet, it's like I'm actually going to be able to get a shot here. So what I did is there was like a little ridge say you come down to like the middle of this valley, it's like rivers, it's swampy, but it's in the forest. And then there's this kind of natural bump. I don't know what it is, like a little rocky
Mm-hmm.
ridge. And I used that to my advantage basically, so that he would have to come over that and come into that space so that it would give me like a closer shot rather than being able to see far, right? He couldn't see very far at that point. That was my thinking anyway. So at that point, I kind of made a decision about where I thought he was going to come from. And I actually had GoPro running the whole time for this, so I have a video of this. But like, just before I turned, like, I don't think this was caught on the GoPro, but like I had also for a while not known, a few times I'd charged down and there'd just been other hunters. Because I don't know, I can't really tell the difference, I'm not experienced enough. So I make the move and then I'm like, oh, hi. You have like an awkward conversation with a couple of dudes in camo. So I've always got that thing in my head, like, oh, is this the real deal? But there was this moment where I looked in this like I'd moved in, I was real close, and I just saw this huge tree, like shaking, like something was making sweet, rough love to it. Like no human could move a tree like that. That was the moment where I was like, oh shit, this is getting real. Like, that is not far away. So I carried on, and I was, yeah, bugling and chuckling, and basically it kind of went quiet for a second, but I shut up. Like once, at a certain point, I can't remember where it was, forgive me, my memory's not that good, but there was just this amazing moment where this guy, I just saw these huge antlers just cruising in, like, couldn't see any of the body or the head, I just saw these antlers cruise in. And I was full draw by this point, I was ready, like, everything was perfect. Like, thankfully, that's the thing, in South Africa, I've had a lot of experience, like, stalking, knowing you've got to be full draw at the right moment, otherwise you're completely fucked. So, I was ready to take the shot. What I didn't do was I didn't make a noise to stop him. I kind of just was so in awe at this huge creature. Those antlers are like, what, more than 10 feet high. And so he stopped and he looked at me 24 yards, 25 yards. And it was just that moment where there's like a tree just over his vitals. But, you know, like, I don't know, 8 inches across tree. And I think at that moment, I was waiting for him to move forwards more or do something. And so we were both just like staring at each other, completely still. For, I don't know, it felt like an eternity. I could probably tell you the exact number if I looked at the video again. And I think at that point, in my mind, the kind of experience I've had with animals, obviously a lot more animals in South Africa, is that those guys are so flinchy, you can't move. If you're full draw and they're like looking in your direction, you're not moving.
Wow.
The only movement is to shoot the arrow. Otherwise they're gone and they're not going to stop again. So that was like a negative for me, because I was like, I can't move, I'm pinned. But what Michael told me and other people have told me after is that actually I could have like actually moved. I could have maybe crouched or moved to the side slightly and just snuck it in next to that tree and got it in there. So maybe I'll have to show you the image. I probably should have prepped that of the bull. But yeah,
I don't think you could have played that any different, honestly.
Okay.
Other than you taking advice from everybody else. Yeah, shouldas, wouldas, and couldas, right? If a fifth was if a fifth was a if, we'd all be drunk, right? Well, my point being is that that was that 90% of aggression. I'm gonna charge in. I'm gonna do this. That's that 90%. You felt the 10%, which was really the failure of everything, right? It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But 90% of the time that I charge in and 10% of the chances that I fail lead up to more success than somebody that says 10% I charge in and 90% I lay back. My odds are better than yours. I think you played everything to the best of your ability. A lot of people ask me those questions year in and year out, and I'll tell you right now, dude, being aggressive has led to more my success than being laid back. When I'm laid back, I don't feel like I have that opportunity because maybe I maybe and if and could have and would have charged a little closer, then maybe I'll be drunk. That's the truth, man.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
That's the truth.
Okay, good. There was one extra little part to that which I wanted to ask you about.
Okay.
If you're still with me on
Yeah.
this
Yeah,
story.
I'm with you.
So for those like 60 seconds or 90 seconds or whatever, felt like 10 minutes.
It
I
feels
was
like
full
10
draw.
minutes, but it's like 60 seconds.
Dude, I tell you what, actually, when I was over in SA last, I was full draw on this little antelope for 4 minutes. Um, holding. The thing had me pegged at like 25 yards, and I had to hold it for that long. And I couldn't move a muscle for all that time. And like the guy next to me was like, "If you move, he's gonna run. Like if you move," and I'm like, this is so painful. I had to like give myself a big talk, like just be like, "Time to put your big boy pants on now."
You ain't
It
lying.
just like takes one step, and I managed to make that shot. But like, that was painful. Um, anyway, I digress. Uh, so what I was going to say is with the elk kind of scurried off. He like ran off, but not like in a really scared way. He didn't know what I was. I didn't move until I actually didn't even let down until he was out of sight. So he knew something was up, but he didn't be like, "Oh fuck, that's scary, terrifying," right? So my feeling at that point was like, he's not gone. He's around. He just didn't like what he saw. So the wind was kind of getting a little bit sketchy at that point. It's like one of those annoying moments when the wind is kind of a little bit swirly. So my choice at that point was like, I'm just going to go back down 150, 200 yards to like the river where there's more consistent wind. And that like, the stream is bringing the wind more gradually. And I'm just going to go chill for like, I don't know how it was, 45 minutes, an hour. I just like waited because I wanted everything to relax for a while. I took a little nap. um, yeah, like, and then when I came back, I moved my way through there again, and there was no bugling anymore. He was not hot. He was not giving, and I kind of, after a while, came to the conclusion that this guy is gone. He ran, maybe he just ran further. The only thing was I heard one or two branches break. And at that point, I was like, oh, maybe he's around. But then I thought it could have just been a branch falling or something, because it was very small. Anyway, I move up to like, and I've moved my way through the area a little bit because I'm like, I'm just going to go slowly, check it out. But he busted me. I took a step across and suddenly was like, caught my pants down
He was
in
there.
the
He was
open.
there, not making any noise.
He's looking at me 65, 70 yards away,
Yeah.
not making any noise. At that point, he sees me and then he runs. Yeah, he's gone. Um,
So
what do you think in that situation after like the first moment of him running, like trotting off? What would have been the best way to play that?
I would have backed it up. Okay, you kind of left him alone, and he was, what it sounds like from the very beginning is that he was pretty much in his bedding area, and that's where he was going to stay for the day. Um, and
Okay.
then he got up a little bit here and there, and this is that transition moment where, remember, at the very beginning of the hunt, it was like 2 o'clock, right?
Yeah. Actually, this is a different time of day.
Okay.
I think that it wasn't late in the day.
It wasn't
I think it was morning. I think it was
early
like
morning
9 a.m.
and
or
going,
something like
yeah.
that. 9 a.m. or something.
Yeah, because it sounds like to me that that bull was pretty much in the area that he wanted to bed down. And you was just antagonizing him, and then you backed off, blah, blah, blah. And then you moved in basically to where you thought he might have been. Honestly, I would have moved a little further
Okay.
and I would have played this a little slower. Yeah,
Okay.
Jermaine Hodge, slow. It just doesn't rhyme. But I'm gonna tell you right now, I would have played this a little slower. I would have been calf calling and cow calling.
Okay.
In every like 15 minutes, let out a location bugle. Easy.
Okay.
And I would have
And stay further away,
yeah.
500
I
meters,
don't
400
yep.
meters
I don't
away.
need to stay super close. I'm just staying close enough that I'm keeping tabs on this bull. Then when he sounds off, I'm gonna cut the distance. When I cut the distance, I'm going, like I said before, I'm gonna give him what he responded to. If he responded to open reads, cool, give it to him. If he responded to cow and calf calls, give it to him. That's what I'm gonna give him when I move in that close, showing that I'm interested in seeing you. And hey, can we talk? We at the bar, you right?
Yeah.
We at
Yeah.
the bar,
Okay.
and I got some ladies for you. Come on over. And the doctor said you can't have them because the carbon's gonna hit you. It's a game, man. It really is. And at the very end of the day, we make so many little mistakes. It equals out to a big mistake because at the very end of season, you're like, holy smokies, I ain't filled my tag. So, but every year that you spend out there is more knowledge. Like I try to tell people all
Yeah.
the time, man, even if it ain't my hunt, I try to go. I try to go.
Okay.
If I got the time, I try to go. And I try to go to advance my skills. You know,
Yeah.
it's just like any profession in the real world. Like I want to advance my skills. I want to know more than the next person. Same thing. Trying to I'm trying to know more than the next person.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense, right? Like every different situation, it's always like you're never going to know everything.
All right.
So learning every time.
Yes.
That makes complete sense, man.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. That was super helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, stay on it and stay aggressive. That's it.
We covered a lot already
I know.
today. Thank you, man. It's like so good to have all this info. I mean, like I'm spoiled rotten. That's for sure.
I know. I know something I want to touch on, and maybe it'll help you lead into your next question. But something
Okay.
that I touch on that I proud about, every year is, usually I'm taking care of the honeydew list and making sure that everything possibly, if it can go wrong, I'm checking it and I'm going back over it every day. I'm cutting the lawn. I'm making sure that my wife ain't got to take care of stuff when I'm gone. And if it's that bad, then we probably need to hire somebody to come in and fix something because me coming off the mountain is not a question. If it's that bad and I got to come off the mountain, it's serious and life threatening stuff. And when I'm up there, I'm devoted to it. And I do my due diligence and I make sure that all my stuff is taken care of. Like for the antelope hunt, yeah, I'm only going up for this weekend, then I'm coming back, and then I'm going back again. But the truth be told is I'm doing my due diligence, making sure everything's taken care of before I leave.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't do that stuff, and then they be like, "Oh, I forgot about that." Take care of the small stuff because at the very end it becomes big stuff.
Yeah, that's for sure, man. I mean, it's also easy to put things off, right? Like I've fallen for that before, for sure. Like you don't have things quite dialed in, or but I think in a way I'm a bit of an over analyzer, so I will like make sure everything is like perfect to the point where it can actually be a bit too much, like where I like give too much effort to those things and kind of worry about them too much. And I think I'm trying to like worry a bit less and be like, it's good enough. Like if the opportunity is right, then I'll be okay. Like then I'll be fine.
Well, I'm
So
not trying to be a perfectionist at anything. Listen, I told my wife a long time ago, I'm not
yeah,
I'm not a professional at anything, but I'm good at everything. And and if it's good enough, it'll work for me. And just make sure it's
yeah.
done. And I'm telling you, your spouse will love you a lot more than when you just leaving them with a handful of stuff to do, and it's like, Jesus, you want to pull your hair out.
Yeah, it's very easy. I definitely able to get super obsessed with things, and my wife has suffered. She's been at the bad end of that a number of times, where I'm just like, I'm gone, like
Yeah.
so focused. So I mean, I'm glad that she's so patient. Thankfully, I don't do that so much these days. But yeah, in the past, I've definitely been totally consumed by things. So
Me too, man.
yeah, you got. I mean, sometimes you've got to focus like that, right, in order to get to the level that you want to get to.
Right.
But it's tough. It has its consequences, that's for sure.
You ain't lying.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you, there's two things. One more situation, which is like, and I don't know what the yeah, I don't know what the solution would be to this, which is why I'm asking you. Falling for fake elk is my title. And as I said before, I kind of mentioned it before, like there were a number of times that I went charging across valleys, deadfall. I mean, I have footage of like doing some really dangerous shit across deadfall, trying to close the distance on what turned out to be two middle-aged, slightly chubby guys. Um, but yeah, I guess it's like maybe experience was the thing that will help me with that, understanding what's a real call and what's not. But at the beginning in the first season, I tried to go in with it like I got to treat everything like it's real, otherwise I'm going to be throwing away opportunities. What do you have any advice for like that moment where you're like, is that real? It sounds really janky, like it sounds like a shit call, but is
So
it real?
so I do. This is where really like the hard road meets the pavement, right? Like, yeah, you got a hard road, and you've achieved all the way up to your location bugle, and you are good, and you could fool some people with just your cow sounds and your location bugle. The hard road in the pavement is that chuckle. So
Yeah.
if you can get them to chuckle at you, you can kind of determine who is who. Because between the cow calls and the location bugle, there's a lot of people that are good. Let's just put this in perspective of like the whole world, right? We got what 8 billion people here on Earth? Billion or no? It's billion. I don't
Yeah.
think it's trillion.
Yeah, it's a billion.
We hit the trillions and we gonna have some problems.
Yeah.
Uh, we got 8 billion people on Earth, and 6 billion of them can cow call and can location bugle. Then you only have 2 billion when we're talking about massive amount of numbers, which in the elk woods would not even equate. But my point being is you could distinguish a lot of them from their chuckles. Now, don't get me wrong, I've been fooled. I've been fooled by crazy looking elk. For example, I'll give you a story.
Yeah.
Calling this bull in, calling in the morning with my wife. My wife has a tag. And we got 3 bulls that answer. One behind us, one to the left, one to the right. And I dived, after daylight, I realized that bull to my left is a human. He's doing everything that humans would do. And I said, he's a human. So I started running towards the elk that was in front of us. I said, we're going to charge down. We're going to get before this guy that gets up here. And before I can even really get to where I wanted to get, that human that I thought was human was covering so much ground. I was like, ain't no way that Joker's covering that much ground. He's freaking sprinting over deadwood. I said, no way. Ended up, I looked between these trees. We were in the island of trees in this meadow. I looked between the trees, underneath the trees, and I realized, dude, that's an elk. And my wife had warned me way ahead of time. Long story short, this bull comes in at 25 yards. No, we didn't make a lethal shot. No, we didn't even we made a shot, but we missed. But my story being is that every elk sounds totally different. And sometimes when you don't know, you gotta go. And the only time when I really like get food is when they don't chuckle. For me, when they don't chuckle and they have a good cow call, good cow sound, and a good location bugle, I get a little food on that. but what separates them is the more advanced calls. So I I call in a lot of hunters every year, but they they are like mediocre callers, right? Or they can go up to a location bugle, and then right when they get ready to make advanced sounds is when I pick them out, and I'm like, yep, the hunter. But you don't know, you really don't know sometimes. And that story I told y'all, I was I was even fooled. And I've
Yeah.
been fooled by hunters in the past, not a lot, but I've been fooled by hunters in the past that just don't go past calf, cow, and location bugle. But if they go into advanced calls, I got them. I can peg them. I can peg them apart. And usually,
Okay.
usually, like a novice hunter will try to mimic what they're trying to say, and then they do it all wrong.
Ah,
So
okay.
if that kind of gives you an
That's interesting.
insight of like, I've been fooled too. Even the best have been fooled, unless you're on private land and you know that no one's there.
Okay, yeah, that's right. So I'm going to interpret, I'm going to take a little bit of a compliment to myself that a number of times I've gone charging across, bugling, breaking sticks, and chuckling and going to people. I mean, this is my first year, so I didn't have too much expectation. But the look of dejection and disappointment on people's faces when I show up, like, dude, I really thought that you were the real thing, man. Like,
Yo, that's a compliment to yourself. That's a compliment to yourself. That's
yeah,
great.
I have no idea how much experience or skill they've got, and I could have been fooled by anyone, but
That's funny.
yeah, that was funny. Okay, so I guess could we get a little bit more into, and by all means, any moment where you feel like there's a story that explains this or does a good job of this, please jump in because I love hearing your stories. You're a great storyteller. I want to get a little bit more into calling tips, like the nitty gritty of that stuff.
Okay.
I mean, I love trying things out, and I've got to the point where I'm not afraid to try things. And it's like I'm a like basic, and then maybe dare I like try like basic plus, maybe just like a nudge further. Like I'm kind of like doing a little bit of chuckling and things like that. I would love to if you could just like break down um, a few things about calling that would be super. It would be super helpful to me. So I got like a few questions here, which are like first things, initial things, like. I think you've already answered this, but like, is it ever hard to decide between cow and bull calls as the right option? Like,
Well,
what are the factors?
I,
Yeah.
well, I will break down the month of September and October. Let me break this down for
Okay.
you and what I'm envisioning in my head after being
Yeah.
after these elk for X amount of years that I've been doing it. Almost 20 years. 2026 will be 20 years that I've been chasing
Wow.
elk, successful year in and year out. But I'll tell you is that I never approach a situation without starting at the bottom and then working my way up. The only way that
Okay.
I do that is that I was in that situation and I escalated from, zero level to 10 level, meaning lip balls and go carry on. When I approach a situation and I'm doing a calling sequence, I start off with calf sounds. I start off with the next step will be calf and cow communication. The next step will be a location bugle. Maybe you can throw a couple cows in there. And then I'm waiting between these segments. And then I'm going location to a chuckle. And then I go into lip ball. That's my last resort before I move, right? And
Okay.
I go into all these sequences hoping that, hoping, hoping that I would get a response. If they want to respond, they're going to respond usually between your calf, your cow and calf, and your location bugle. Not saying that
Okay.
not saying that they won't respond to your location to a chuckle or just a chuckle. just saying that most of your bulls are responding between three calls: your cow, your calf, and your location bugle. And
Oh,
then
okay.
you spice it up from that point.
Okay, great. So another quick broad question before we jump into like the specifics of cow calls and bull calls.
Hmm.
Is there like, I mean, obviously there's always everyone's got an opinion or a brand that they like to go with. I guess what's your favorite tube that you use? And are there different tubes that are better for different situations or different environments? Or does it not really matter? Really matter? At the moment, I've got like one of those aluminum big old Phelps tubes that's really loud.
Oh, it's super loud. I
Um,
like that. I like that
yeah.
too. I like that too during like windy days when I need to project that sound. That too
Okay.
is money. Uh, my my tube that I usually run with is the Unleashed, the original Unleashed. It's huge. It's bigger than the normal tube, and I like that tube a lot. Right here in front of me, I have the carbon Phelps tube. I think this year for the 2025 hunt, I'll be running the carbon tube because I don't think I don't think you can go wrong with any tube. It's
Okay.
actually mimicking the sounds that these elk make and not trying to overpower them. Some of the tubes on the market, Unleashed being one of them, and I love it to death because it just has a deep, raspy, nasty tone at the end of it, a lot of back pressure on it. But sometimes you don't need to be the bigger bull. You just need to be
Yes.
the challenger of the day, and you don't want to sound overpowering. And I just try to mimic everything to the best of my ability and not overpower that particular elk that you're trying to call in. Um, the carbon tube, I mean, this thing sounds amazing. Here's a sample of this tube. If it don't blow
Okay.
out the mic. And to me, it's just perfect. It don't get crazy with it, and you don't have to get crazy with it. But sometimes you got those big mature bulls, you gotta get crazy with it. So um, the
Okay.
Unleash, and for me this year, the Unleash and the Carbon tube I'll probably be using the most, and then the Unleash. Of course, I can get nasty with the Unleash because it has a lot of back pressure and a lot of thump at the end.
Okay, that's great to know. So I guess what I'm taking from that is that I was actually going too big, too upscaling too fast, and going like because I've got a tube that's capable of being really big
Hmm.
and like sounding like a big, powerful bull. I was probably scaring away a few bulls, is what I'm
Yep.
guessing, because you sound like a monster. And it was only the few bulls that were like up for the fight that would really actually have come in, and then I had contact. So actually trying to be more wimpy is a good thing.
Yeah,
It
I'm,
sounds
I'm,
like.
yeah, I'm the new kid on the block. I just got to this high school, and I'm trying to figure out my new clique. And you introduce a new bull to a school of kids that's already been established. They've been there for, let's just say a half of a year, because if you start totaling out April, May, June, July, yeah, they've been hanging out with each other for a good little grip. And now a new kid just moved into a school. His parents had to relocate, so he had to move high schools, right? And he
Yeah.
shows up, and you throw out your ringtone, and and you're letting them know, hey, there's a new kid on the block. Again, you don't have to sound like Jermaine Hodge. You just sound like a wimpy old bull, and you know what happens? 90% of the time, you'll get a response being like, "I'm over here. Who the hell are you? Who the hell are
Yeah.
you?"
Yeah. Okay.
And when you get that response, you move in, you cut the distance, and you give them the same response. Man, I came over here to play with you. Man, I'm just seeing who the click is. Dude, when people start humanizing this stuff,
Yeah.
elk hunting, it won't become a challenge anymore. It become, or less, evolution always sets in and they become smarter, right? But
Yeah.
when we a lot more people be killing 400 class bulls and be able to kill some of these bigger bulls, these herd bulls, because they figured it out and they humanized it. So it's just a new kid coming in, and I'm saying, who the hell are you? And you don't have to sound like Jermaine Hodge. Really, you don't.
Yeah.
You just have to sound a new
Yeah.
kid to
Okay.
the block, get him to sound off, and you can move in. You can kill him with other sounds. But going back at there, man, dude, just humanize all this.
Okay. Okay. So I'll move through these like rapid style. Well, not rapid style, but let's see how we go. So bugling and chuckling, we've kind of covered some of that stuff already, and I think I'm feeling pretty comfortable with those elements. Something that I'm curious about is like lip balling, and the more nuanced tricks that you're talking about. I'd love to hear maybe what they are, like whatever ones you can think of, or like the tricks that you pull out
Okay.
and how they're relevant and useful. Does that sound good?
So yeah, absolutely. I'll start off with the chuckles. So
Okay.
everything derives off of a cow sound. Don't let anybody
Yeah.
tell you anything else. Everything derives off a cow sound, and that cow sound sounds like this. And if you cut that in half, I think you just went
Oh,
to
the other mic.
speaker. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, my headphones went dead. Babe, can you
That's all
plug
good.
these up for me on your fast charge? Everything derives off of cow sound. And I'll speak a little louder so everybody can hear me. And if you cut that cow sound in half, you get this. And that's that calf sound. Now, if you do that calf sound and push a little bit more air across it, meaning I'm keeping my tongue on that latex a little tighter, and then I'm going to drop my tongue off that latex. And we're talking about chuckles now, just so you guys are, following. And I'm dropping my tongue off faster as I do that calf sound. That calf sound sounds like this. And as I'm doing that calf sound, I'm pushing more air, and I'm also dropping my tongue off that latex, but I'm making a cadence. Now, when I make that cadence is a left, right, left, right. And if I can do this correctly, then I'm making that chuckle sound, because all it is a cadence sound. Because you listen to them like pop, 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 pop. And they kind of dive off at the end or drop off at the end. And
Yeah.
all I'm trying to do is left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. And I'm making that cow sound, but I'm pushing more air across that latex. Now, when you amplify it through a tube, it should sound something similar to that chuckle, which sounds like this. And you heard that left, right, left, right, left, right cadence. And that's that calf sound with more air across the diaphragm popped off. Now, you go into a little bit more advanced calls. We're talking about location to the chuckle. I try to fade my chuckle into my location bugle. But once again, all calls derive off of elk call. And all I'm trying to do is extend that cow sound. Expand it as far as you can. And that's done literally with a cow sound, keeping the same tongue pressure as possible, the same air pressure, and then drop off at the end, and then add that lip ball. I mean, not lip ball, but that chuckle. And it sounds like this,
Okay.
without the tube, because all the tube is an amplifier. Without the tube, it sounds like this. And it sounds weird without like something amplifying it.
Yeah.
But all I'm doing is
Yeah.
honing my skills to be proficient when I amplify it, right? And then when you
Yes.
throw your bugle tube through it, it amplifies the sound. It sounds like this. And now there is that location to a chuckle. Now,
Yes.
when you get into like that lip ball spurry, and that's like last step that I take before I move ground. That lip ball is hard. And the reason why it's hard is because you're multitasking, you got to do a bunch of different things. So for me, I use my lips. Some people use their voice, but I realize that my lips sound more realistic than my voice on the lip ball. And what I mean by that is sputtering your lips. Now,
Okay.
never do this around you, like close to your friend, right? Because you're gonna spit on your friend. Because practicing lip ball, it first you got to get your lips in tune with everything else. But what I do is I sputter my lips, and it sounds like this. It's like you tickling your baby, and if most of those that have kids understand, you tickle their belly button and whatever, and you put your lips on their skin. It makes a buzzing sound. And yeah, they laugh for days and you giggle out of it too. But what you don't realize is you're practicing elk hunting too. So if you got newborns, cool. Good way to, practice your sputter of your lips. If you don't have newborns and you got young adults like I got, just, sputter your lips and try to make an even sound. It's possible as you can, right? But then you got to throw that cow sound. So that cow sound, that elongated cow sound, and then you got to sputter the lips without the tube. Never do this with the tube. We're going to do this without the tube so you can practice, right? It sounds like this.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it's a sputter of the lips. It can be sloppy at times, but the more you practice, you'll hone your tune. And then when you put it through the tube, it sounds like this. And you put it all together. So the location bugle,
Yeah.
the sputter of the lips, and then you chuckled at the end. And there's a time and place for that stuff. And if they're not lip balling at you, I recommend don't lip balling at them. I never want to overpower them. I want to stay at their same level. And understand this too. You get big 6 points, 7 points, herd bulls that are dominant and very, very vocal. Those bulls, is hard to overpower those bulls. So screaming at those bulls as much as you can, it's fine. But screaming at like a 6 point that really ain't developed yet, it's a time and a place. Remember, I said it's chess, not checkers, and it's a time and a place for that. And sometimes screaming at those bulls won't benefit you as much as those bulls that are very vocal and old and mature, because those old mature bulls always make that lip ball sound, and it's hard to mimic that. We just try to come as close as possible, but for us, it's always harder to mimic that because we'll never sound as good as them. So I hope I answered that question to the best of my ability.
Yeah. Oh, so good. It was amazing. It's so amazing to hear you like execute these calls. It's inspiring, I gotta say. So you mentioned big herd bulls and then like satellite bulls. Do you mind giving a quick suggestion of different ways to approach those two? Like what's your go-to toolbox if you're trying to bring in one versus the other?
I'm actually glad you asked me that, because I kind of veered off subject a little bit, because I break September and October down a little bit differently. So for me,
Uh-huh.
I think depending on when the season starts, some states in the U.S. start a lot earlier, like in August. And we used to in here in Colorado, but they start September 2nd. So I think the last week of August to the month of September, the 10th, is kind of like I like to draw that line. Like it's between the 10th and 13th is like it's a gray line between that point. The very first of September, late August, early September, I've killed a lot of bulls with bugles. And you got to understand that the heat of the rut, like it's a lot of bulls that are still scrubbing velvet off their antlers right now.
Okay.
Testosterone is building, and we're at the tail end of them scrubbing their antlers and their antlers being all brown and whatever from tree sap and whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
But what we fail to realize is that time of the month, remember those high school students that were together and they were hanging out in groups? Well, those guys started smelling themselves. So they started kind of separating their ways. That's that older that's that older platform, right? They get a little older in high school. They chasing girls. They got different things they want to do, but they never venture away like too far from each other. And all you trying to do in that part of the season is introduce that new kid to the playground, meaning that new kid to high school that they've never heard. Because what you'll do is you're sparking interest off of one of those bulls. So a lot of my big bulls that I've killed has been early September, between the 6th and the 13th is right around the time frame of where I've killed a lot of my big bulls. And after that, I break the season down, and you can take it for granted. I said the 10th to the 13th is that gray moment. The 13th through about the 21st is like that crazy moment where you can introduce any sound you want to, because it's going to attract a lot of bulls. Doesn't mean it's going to be their herd bull, but it's a lot of bulls that'll be interested. And those satellite bulls, if some of those big bulls started already cowing up, some of those satellite bulls will be interested. And believe it or not, I'll show you afterwards. Believe it or not, there's a lot of satellite bulls that are on my walls right now that are just as big as the herd bulls. And you got to understand that you're hunting, and if you're trying to fill a tag, maybe a satellite bull is what you're looking at. And then if that's it, he may be a 5-point or he may be a giant 6-point. We don't know. So we play the game. So I mix up my calls during that season, the 13th to like the 21st. At the end of the season, going into October, September. We were just talking about September. So from the 21st to like the end of season, going into October, even first season rifle and the rest of the season, I'm heavy on cow calls. I'm doing more cow calls than I am doing bugling. And the reason being is because that time of the season, a lot of these herds are already bunched up together, and you have a lot of satellite bulls that are still interested. And maybe I can fool them as one of these cows got a lot further away from that herd bull, and I fool him. But best believe a lot of those bulls in the late season come in quiet. And that works for every season. Everything that I'm breaking down right now, but they'll come in quiet. And then that goes for the, October seasons. I've called bulls all the way out to November, late November, but remember that their tone changes. They ain't in the same tone as they were in September or early October. They in that, hey, we over here, come chill with us kind of mode. Or, hey, the cows are talking, hey, come on over here, it's refuge with us kind of thing. So you got to understand the
They're not
time of
in
the
fighting
seasons.
mode. Okay. So they're not in fighting mode. They're not. Yeah, they're more just looking at like,
They're always
yeah,
talking,
group think.
and I never
Yeah.
leave. I
Okay.
never leave my tools at home, meaning my calls. I never leave them at home because you never know when I might need them.
Yeah, there might be a perfect moment, and then if you don't have them, you can't use them.
Right, right.
There you go. Okay, so often I've seen when I'm watching videos, a shot gets made on a bull. The person who's doing the calling immediately rips a couple of cow calls. What's the thinking with that?
Okay, I already got you. Like a lot of times, like for archery, for example, like a lot of times they don't know what hits them. So when they
Okay.
boogie off after you hit them, if you cow call, it might allow them to say, "Dang, I don't know what really hit me," and they look back and they stagger around for a little bit and they drop in sight. Same goes for rifle. If you hit them and you hit them good, of course they're gonna stand there, but a lot of times you're just trying to calm the situation down and make them rethink what they thought already, right? So,
Yes, yes.
for example, you hit a nightclub, everything starts going rowdy. There's bulls bugling, there's ladies screaming, and then there's shots fired out. And you don't know, you're just trying to find your friends. And next thing you know, you look down, you stop for a second, look down, and you're bleeding, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's the same thing as like elk. You're just trying to calm them down. So you make some cow sounds to let them know that, hey, everything's copacetic. Everything's good. No need to worry about anything. And before you
Okay,
know
that makes
it,
sense.
he fell over in sight. Then that, ultimately that's what we're trying to achieve because they're hardy animals. Our arrows and our bullets can do so much, but I tell you, if you don't put it in the right place, they could run for days.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I've experienced that with a few animals, but
Yeah.
not with elk. Okay, awesome, man. Well, thank you, dude. That was so fun and so good to hear all your stories and all your knowledge. I have maybe a silly question to ask you.
Go ahead.
I wonder if you have any tips. Is there any specific ways that I can wind up Michael when I'm out there calling for him? I always like to push his buttons in some way.
I don't know, man, because Michael was like, when I took him out, he was so in tune at just listening and learning. It was hard for me to pick him apart. And when I would tell him something, he would just listen. Like for me, that question is a full glass, and I can't drink it. But I will tell you this is that he's a hardcore hunter. He's gonna do whatever it takes, and the only for the lack of experience, that dude would have killed many bulls. But now that he's he's got some heat under his belt, I think he's good now. It's kind of like that mama bird waiting for the chicks to take off so she can go do what she needs to do. When I took him out, I was like, okay, I'm that mama, and I gotta coach him into it. And then when I felt like, yo, we going, he was about it. So it's hard for me to pick him apart.
I think you've already answered my question. I'm going to call him Baby Bird from now on. That's his
Baby
nickname.
Bird. Baby Bird. But next thing you know,
brilliant.
he kills an elk, and it's like mama looking at Baby Bird fly away, It's like, okay.
You can only feel proud. Okay, dude. So to wrap up, how can people find you, follow your stories? Maybe if you want to send them anywhere, websites, Instagram, YouTube. I know you create a lot of content and you have a lot of really helpful intel out there for people. Where should people go?
Well, I got a bunch of videos online. I got some with Phelps game calls. You just type in Phelps game calls on YouTube. I got some with Hunt Stand that I've done with Hunt Stand, and the one video is called Coach. That's a really good video for newcomers that are trying to get to accomplish something that can't be accomplished. You think it can't be accomplished, but it can be accomplished. So that movie is, one of my top films. It's called Coach on Hunt Stand. And then
Okay.
I also have my own YouTube platform where we do seminars and stuff, and we film those. And it's just about giving back to the community. And I know, all the failures that I've, been introduced in life. If I can help somebody be a little bit better, that's what I wanted to do. So it's called Colorado High Altitude Hunters, and you can find us on YouTube. And some of the seminars that I've done, you'll enjoy them. They sound just as good as what you might heard tonight. And then if you wanted to reach out on our website, coloradohigh2hunters.com, look us up. And you can follow me on Instagram or Facebook. Just look up Jermaine Hodge. And if you don't see an elk or a deer, it's not me.
Well, there you go. Dude, epic. Thank you, man. I'm feeling super pumped, first of all, and a little bit more prepared. Yeah, I'm going to listen to this on my travels over there as well. I'm going to listen to it again. Hopefully I can be part of some glory for Michael this season.
All we try to do is be a little bit better every day. That's it, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks very much.
All right. Have a good day, man.
Right, that's another episode quartered up and in the game bag, I guess would be the terrible analogy for this week. Once again, a huge thank you to Jermaine for sharing his time. It was a very last minute turnaround, and he probably should have been out in the boonies chasing antelope, but he was kind enough to share his nuggets of wisdom with us today. So a big thank you to Jermaine for that. And thank you to you as well. If you're still here, then I'm going to take that as a good sign and ask you to do all the things that people who are sticking with and enjoying podcasts do. Give us a good review. Definitely give us a follow if you haven't already. And yeah, share us with a friend if you think there's someone who would enjoy this kind of content. I think that's everything from me for now. Thanks for listening. And until next time. Yo, baby bird. I just had a great chat with Jermaine. Thanks for the hookup on that one. We figured out your new nickname for this season, so just trying it on for size. I think you better get comfortable because that's what I'm going to be calling you from now on. All right, give me a call when you get a chance. Bye.
Welcome to the Wild Dispatch.